And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire. We are going to be talking about portable antenna options. And if you're new, please put new in the chat. I'd like to meet you. And if we haven't met, my name is Christian. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. And June 11th through the 13th, that's coming up this weekend, we will have the 100 Watts and a Wire tune-up. So you will be able to get on the air, and I'll be live streaming. Lots of things are happening. I want to take a moment to thank the folks who have actually supported in this oversaturated ham radio medium that we're existing in right now. A few bold people have decided to support and propagate the 100 Watts and a Wire tune-up, and I want to say hello and thank you to them. Amateur Radio Newsline, who has been on board and supportive of the show and our operating events since the beginning. Thank you very much. Neil Rapp, WB9VPG with Ham Talk Live, also mentioned the tune-up and always does. And KB9VBR, I visited with Michael this week, and he had me on the show. We talked about it, and I appreciate that very, very much. Going to mix things up just slightly this week, where we're going to start off with our Hour 73 segment. And, you know, Hour 73 is a preparedness segment, regularly featured here on 100 Watts and a Wire. We share ideas and practical solutions to help everyday people become more self-reliant here in the 21st century. So we're going to bring in my friend Don, and we will talk a little bit about what's happening in the world and give you some things to think about as we head forward. Let me make sure I got you off the mute. Yeah, you are. And welcome to the show, Don. What's going on with you this week?
Hey, good morning. How you doing? It's a kids' sports weekend for me.
Yeah, so you are going to watch your tall daughter. We can compare notes because my daughter's getting really tall too, and they're measuring the feet, and they're like, she's in a women's shoe. I'm like, oh no, you know. And I'm doing more push-ups all the time. I'm practicing the trip of the little boy as he runs after my daughter. Oh, slow down, buddy.
Yep.
So you know that.
Yeah,
that
she's
feeling.
She's in I think women's sixes and 5'3" at age 10. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So this week we wanted to talk a little bit about gear. We opened up the discussion, and there's so much to talk about in terms of, you know, preparedness types of gear. We've got the tune-up coming up. We're going to be out in portable. Some people will be working tune-up and field day from maybe remote locations. This week, let's dive back into the bag. What do you want to talk about this week in terms of preps and gear?
Yeah, so when you were talking about discussing portable antennas, especially a week before the tune-up and then heading into field day this month, I was thinking about gear in the situation. So situational gear usage, purchasing, preparedness, whatever. So this is me, my example, right? So I look at it four ways. I've got my everyday gear, the everyday carry. I've got the getting home gear. I've got the getting away from home gear, and then the I'm staying at home gear. And that's me. It might differ where you are. I think we talked a little bit about everyday carry last week in terms of having a good knife. I carry a flashlight. Still legally authorized to carry a gun. There's that, some magazines, but basically making sure I have what I need every day. But when you're looking at, especially going portable, whether it's for the fallout or the tune-up, or field day, you know, I think that's an opportunity to look at the gear that you have that you can take out for a little bit. So whether it's a day or 2 days, if you're camping out for field day, you know, what do you need to get out of the house and make it somewhere for a little bit? And I'm going to argue that if you have to pack it all into a U-Haul, it's not portable.
Yeah, you're not portable. Yeah, and I think even mobile situations could be portable too. I think I accept that all in there as well. With field day and the tune-up, I don't know how many people do overnights during the tune-up, but certainly during the field day, people do overnight shifts, you know, and maybe get out of their habits a little bit. You know, they're doing these things where they're staying up later. I don't know, you got to think about maybe your medicine, where you're going to be. I'm one of these guys that pack. If I'm traveling, and and I don't know if this is weird or if it's good. I don't know what it is. It's just something I do. But if I'm out on the road, I'm thinking about where the local hospitals are, in case there's an emergency. Who am I going to call? These sorts of things. And when you're out there in the field, most people go to sleep and you're working the overnight. There's some considerations with that too. Have you ever pulled an all-nighter out there in the field, and what did you take?
Yeah, that's a great question, or a great, even a great background to it. We get so used to going from A to B that sometimes we ignore what's around us. So I'm glad you brought that up. We talked about this, I think, in one of the initial podcasts in terms of knowing what the threats and hazards are around your house when you're preparing at home, not to mention knowing where some of your resources are. So we are blessed here in Carroll County, Maryland. The Carroll County Amateur Radio Club has usage of one of the county's parks, so they let us use it for field day. They don't charge the club. We're at a little bit of a disadvantage because where we set up in the pavilions in a bit of a valley, but our argument as a club is if we can operate in an area that's less than ideal, that'll help us build proficiency for when we really needed to do it in some less than ideal locations during a disaster or an emergency. But when I'm out there, I like to camp out there. So I'll bring a tent. I'll bring a sleeping pad. It's June, but I'll still bring a blanket. And then I'm looking at what I need for the night. So there's a spot pod on site, so I don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. But I bring water. As a club, we have some food, but I definitely need light, bug repellent, those type of things that keep you comfortable when you're not in your normal routine at home. And again, this is going to vary depending where you are. I'm in the Mid-Atlantic, so it'll be pretty damn warm in June that weekend. But depending on where you are, especially if you're camping out, if you're at elevation, you might be bringing a nice thermal sleeping bag or something like that, so you can make it through a chilly night. So again, it's knowing where you are, what's around you, what you need. It's not necessarily complicated, but it takes a little work to dig up what exactly are you facing and how you respond to that with your gear choices.
And you're going to be out in the field, so you're going to probably have a vehicle that you can maybe pack up. Who knows how far you'll have to walk. You may just go to a pavilion in a park, and that's kind of fine. And then you're thinking about, I think about, what am I going to need radio-wise? And I'm about to travel, and that becomes like, it's kind of fun, but you're not going to go to Radio Shack. You're not going to get the Radio Shack when I get to Manhattan, and travel. So it's this practice and sort of making lists and figuring what you need on the radio side, but we're talking about the human needs side too, which actually increases the volume of your pack. Do you practice carrying X amount of weight? I know there are people who will get out there and put on a backpack and do 60 pounds. We may not be that audience completely, but do you suggest anything like that sort of in prep-wise?
Yeah, so I guess I'm one of those guys. I have an old backpack that I put a 40-pound sandbag in, stuffed it with towels. It's one heck of a workout. But yeah, it gets you used to. 40 pounds doesn't seem like a lot until you're humping it on your shoulder over terrain. So looking at what you need to get from point A to point B, and I'm glad you mentioned field day and the radio component to it, because it is difficult to pack for yourself, to get what you want, to get set up for a little base camp out in the woods, or if you're camping somewhere. But for all this, which is pretty much the entire audience that are all operators as well, you throw in even a modest portable setup, and that's quite a bear to get from point A to point B. I think it was the fallout, and I did it in my backyard when I caught you on the air. I went as modest as I could. I took my ICOM 7000, threw a portable battery, and I used one of the Chameleon tactical dipoles. Certainly not an ideal setup, but I was able to catch you and a couple other people during the fallout. But if you want to be a significant or serious operator, especially some of those like Parks on the Air folks or the Summits on the Air that are really trying to extend their reach, that becomes an exercise in knowing how to pack your gear and how to get it from A to B.
Now let's just talk about, okay, you're going to go out and do the tune-up. So we talked in previous weeks about like the top 3, and it's really hard. You're taking a drink right now. It's bourbon. I know it's Saturday morning, and that's the cool thing to do when you're from Baltimore. That gets your start off to the game. You got to watch a child's basketball game. I totally understand. Just kidding. But some of the essential needs when you're going outside right now, in the bag with your backpack. You don't need to carry 40 pounds of gear out there, but you're definitely going to take the top 3. And just to recap those, water came in, I think, number 1 on everybody's list. Just staying hydrated. You can do 3 or 5. What else do you want to take with you, Don? Now, this is in the case of field day or the tune-up, which is coming up.
Yeah, so if I'm going out for that, I feel fairly comfortable that I'm going to be able to get home when I want to get home. So it's not like I'm going to be digging in for a couple days where I have no choice. And this is where you look at your own comfort, right? So obviously water is first and foremost. That can put you in a bad way quick. But I think second on my list is those things that make you comfortable. So whether it's your choice in clothing, whether it's your choice in sleeping or sheltering, I think those are the things that make the difference between having a fairly decent night's sleep outside of your bed and out in the woods or in a field somewhere versus swatting 6,000 mosquitoes or being a little bit too chilly because you're at 3, 4, 5,000 foot elevations and you didn't account for the cool nights, keeping weather off of you, whether that's the sun, the rain, the wind. So I think beyond water and keeping myself comfortable, obviously you're making some food choices. I'm going to punt that one for this discussion because, in field day, what do? We order 1,000 pizzas or someone's manning the grill. So I'm pretty confident that I'm going to eat. Not that I've missed a meal. So, but that aside, I would say then light, anything that gets me from point A to point B where I am camped out. So do I need light? Do I need some tools to operate? So the things that prevent you from muttering cuss words because you didn't pack what you thought you needed. Again, it's easier, I think, and it's great practice for something like a tune-up or the fallout for field day where you have that safety net of being around people and you're going to eat and you're going to have a good time. But I think that's also a good place where you can exercise what gear you can bring that you can comfortably carry, that you can set up somewhere and avoid the elements for a little bit. I think that's a great place to start. Once you can keep the elements off of you and you have water, you can start having those discussions about, okay, what do I do for food? There's short-term food that you can pack in a bag, but what do I do for food long-term? How do I manage clothing, layers, stuff like that? But these are great opportunities, I think, for us. We're out there to have fun. I am looking forward to having one heck of a time with my club during field day. I'm looking forward to getting on the tune up for a little bit too here at home. But the reality is that I know I'm going to have fun. When you're forced into that situation and there's no fun to be had, that's when it's a real test of basically up here and your ability to get through it.
So the tune-up and the field day, which is coming, back to back here, and it was intended to do that, to get you tuned up for your great time at a field day. You want to have a good time. You want to be comfortable. You want to enjoy what you're doing because you're out and away from your home. So it's a little bit different. Now, we are all of, I can't say we all, but we all are getting to an age. We're all getting older. That's a fair thing to say. Is it too much or is it wise? Because I'm becoming of that age where I'm starting to think of these things like on your phone, putting on your information to contact people if I go down or my medications. Is that too much? Is that get into cyber strange land, putting things out there? Or just to contact my wife if I fall out here or I've eaten too much or you've got to take me and hydrate me. You know what I mean?
We'll just roll you down the hill if you've eaten too much.
Yeah, just don't discard my body.
Yeah, we'll bring you back up before the animals get to you. No, I think that's a great point. So obviously we're amongst friends, we're amongst club members when we're looking at field day. I would imagine a vast majority of us when we do the tune-up, we might do it from home, we might do it in the backyard, but I'm sure some people might go out to do it. So at a minimum, like example for field day, my wife knows where I'm going to be. So she knows that when I leave the house, I'm going to be at Bear Branch Nature Center in Westminster, Maryland, down at the pavilion set up for field day. So when I don't come home when she's expecting me to, Now, I guess that's a true test of how much she loves me. Does she wait a day? Does she wait a week? But, certainly letting folks know where you're going to be, any sort of medical issues that you have that aren't obvious, any sort of medications that you might need, emergency contacts, always a good idea. So whether it's in the phone or if you're taking a hike and you're parked in a parking lot, a thing a lot of people will do is they'll leave it in a Ziploc bag. So they'll leave like, this is who I am. These are my emergency contacts. This is the route I think I'm taking as I hike through these woods. And then that way, a starting point. So if I know you're on a hike somewhere in a national park and you've told me that you're parking here and going into the woods and you don't check in, and we decide that you're going to check in at a certain interval and you don't, then for a search and rescue team, I've got a starting point and I've got your information there in a bag in the car. Like worst case, they're going through the window to get it. Big deal. But it at least gets me or gets them to where you started and what you proposed your route to be, so you can get help to someone that needs it in a quick manner.
I know we don't always think of these things, and we think that, we're still young and strong and nothing's going to happen. But, it is kind of wise to think about this, and it's only preparedness. We're not telling you to go off it's things to think about, maybe some tricks. Pastor Joe says he wears an ID bracelet. He does a lot of cycling, so he's out there, and it's a very basic way for him to share information should he fall or go down somehow. And, these emergencies just happen. It's just, you didn't expect it, and the next thing you know, you've had a heart attack. You're like, I had a heart attack. So planning on that situation. So we're talking about these operating events for comfort, with your medical stuff, letting people know where you are. Don't go rogue and be silly. Let people take care of you if you need to. But most of all, in this case, have fun. Are you one of the guys that pack extra because the schmo over here didn't bring anything, and he doesn't have his tools, he doesn't have any wire, he forgot his phone? Do we pack for that guy, or we kill him and eat him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point.
Because they exist, and they're always taken. They're always taken.
Yeah, I guess so. A little bit different, perhaps, in a field day situation than it is when you're ensuring your family's survival.
Sure.
So I would say going out the field day, obviously there's the camaraderie of my club. We're out there to have fun. If one of the guys forgot something and he needs something that I have, of course I'm going to give it to him. And I'm glad Pastor Joe brought up that road bracelet comment, because that's a great idea. And honestly, we didn't even talk about it, but one thing I'm throwing in is also a basic first aid kit, maybe some extra ibuprofen. And you said it; it's not like I'm not going to tell my wife on the morning of field. Yeah, exactly.
I brought it to the show just in case.
Just in case, in case I fall out of my chair.
If you swing at me, I can bandage myself up.
Yeah, like I don't tell my wife the morning of field day, like, hey, I'm packing up my gear. I'm going to go up to Bear Branch, get set up, and then break my leg in the woods. Like, I don't certainly plan on that. And you mentioned it, like, we don't. These things are unforeseen for a reason. So at least having a sense of who to contact, allergies if you have them, special medications. I think it's a good idea.
All right, so there you have it. There's some things to think about. I want to get into more on the gear. This last segment we called, it was just gear number 1, because this one will be number 2. It gets so sophisticated, from your knife to your everyday carry to what sort of flashlight do you like to use, and how long do you need to have that extra light source? Do you want a headlamp? So there's so many things that we can talk about that you want to put in your bags and take along with you. There's a wide range of topics that we will discuss with Dawn as we go. You better go get to that basketball game. I hope she dropped 12. Let's say 12 points. Can she put 12 down today? Because I'm going to call the bookie. We know
she
the
can.
bookie.
I will update you and let you know. I don't know what the opening odds are, but yeah. I say when we come back, especially as we go through these events, and I'm always curious to hear some of the things that the folks out there are doing. I think we'll have ample time to talk about not only every day, but going out portable or going out for a while, or what you need to get home. So I think we have plenty of points to discuss as we move forward.
Yeah, this segment will be posted coming up, and so you put your comments down. What are you taking? What are your must-haves with you? And let's continue the conversation as we go, and then we'll come back next week and have a whole new slate of information. My thanks to Don. Good luck at the game today. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you again real soon.
Yep, sounds good. 73, my friend.
73, brother. Okay.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is 100 watts and a wire.
Brothers and sisters, I believe I have found a new way for you to support the content you enjoy and the community that you find value in. It's called buymeacoffee.com. It is not a commercial. It's a new way. And I've moved away from Patreon, which is going to hurt me for a little bit. But in the long run, I believe that content creators should have creative freedom. There shouldn't be any censorship coming down from a platform in the way that you create. But moreover, on your side, do you really need to have a sign up? Do you really need to have an account? And do they really need to take between 5 and 12% of your donations? No, I'm out. But I've moved over to buymeacoffee.com. It's as easy as that. No sign-ups, no accounts. Give if you want. If you don't want to, give as much as you want. Become a sustaining member. It's all there, but it's new. So I'm here to tell you about that. Buymeacoffee.com/K0STH is where you find us. And it's an easier way, a cleaner way, it seems, to support the content you enjoy. Now let's get you back up to the show.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is 100 watts and a wire.
Bring in my friends from Amateur Radio Newsline. We get together and we discuss two topics, two stories from this week's news. And so we'll do that now. I welcome to the show Karen Eve Murray and Paul Brown. Karen is the editor of Amateur Radio Newsline, and Paul with a fresh haircut. I can tell you got a haircut. Don't ask me why. It's because I don't have any, but I notice you either combed it or you cut it. What did you do, Paul?
Actually, I cut it like 2 weeks ago. So
2 weeks ago? Okay, I just started looking at him, Karen. I just noticed he was here on the show, and it looked cut.
It took you that. Yeah, I'm disappointed it took you that long to notice.
Christian, you didn't notice I cut my hair.
Did you cut your hair? See, it's right at the bottom of your frame there.
Well, my hair it's down to my waist, so it's out of view. But you should have asked, Karen, have you cut your hair?
Yeah, I should have even started with you on that front.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Karen,
ask me next week.
Okay. All right, we'll do that this week.
Did I? No. I'll cut it this week.
Guys, welcome to the show.
I'll cut it this week.
This week, we know the format. There's usually a story that you probably should have known or heard about this week. It would have certainly led off in Amateur Radio Newsline's report for this week. And then one that maybe didn't make the cut. That's a hard job for you sometimes, is determining what will make it and what has to be cut. And I know you try to get as much in there as you can. So we'll have two stories today, and we'll start off with Karen. What did you find this week that needed to lead the top of the newscast?
Okay, Christian, we have an interesting combination here of public service and special event, all rolled into one, happening 50 miles north of New York City. It's called Bannerman Island. Bannerman Island is not an island on the air. This is no iota points for this, but you get the good person points for being a part of this activation. N2B is the call sign. November 2 Bravo will be used by hams activating this island, and they will be joined by a bunch of other hams up and down New York's Hudson River. What they're doing between 1 and 5 o'clock local time here, these are hams in the Hudson Valley Digital Network, and they're going to be calling CQ worldwide to say hi. And to say, look at this beautiful island. This is a park. It's part of Hudson Highlands State Park. And boy, is it in need of cleanup, repair, and all kinds of things to make it a little safer and a little more pleasant for visitors. You know, we're going back to parks now. It's spring in this part of the world. Hams are wanting, you talk about going portable. These guys are going to be operating portable. N2B will be on the island. And what they're going to be talking about is how hams can help by donating what they can to the trust that oversees the island for New York State, because again, this is part of the New York State park system. There's a gorgeous castle there. There's some incredible history. Castle was built by Frank Bannerman. And Frank Bannerman was a munitions dealer at the turn of the previous century. He kept a lot of military surplus there. But obviously now this is just a treasure for people to come to. And guess what? You want to go there, you got to get there by boat. Paddle boat, canoe, kayak, however. They welcome people, but again, it needs a bit more of a welcome mat. It needs to be a safer, more hospitable place. So a week from today, between 1 and 5 local time here in New York, these guys will be calling CQ, and N2B will be on the island. And if you go to QRZ.com, you'll see the other call signs that are part of this event.
Well, it looks like a beautiful place to have a backdrop, and I don't know how large that is there, but man, you could probably put up some really good antennas there and have yourself a blast, I would think.
It's 6.5 acres. It's not huge. It's a nice little private island. The family lived there for a while too. In fact, they lived on top of quite a storehouse of munitions. Must have been very interesting. It's like, don't jump up and down, don't run back and forth. Tell the kids to just be quiet. Don't wake the sleeping munitions downstairs.
Is it a landmark, like a national landmark now? Has it been preserved?
No. It's part of the state park system. The state, of course, values it as part of the greater area, which is called Hudson Highlands State Park. They do charge for tours, and you have to book them in advance. And they tell people, if you're going to visit the island, plan ahead, book your appointment, and then kind of back time it so that your boat trip over will get you there on time. Because boats are not, especially kayaks, are not the swiftest way to get there. But it's the only way to get to the island. It's nice. It's very, it's remote, and yet it's accessible.
What do you think, Paul? Would this be a place you would go to operate?
It sounds like fun. It really, well, it's kind of like a little mini de-expedition to one of those really remote islands that you have to get on the boat and you set up and there's just birds there. It sounds interesting, and I think it's a cool thing that they're doing to help raise money to support it, because it's another facet of a good publicity for amateur radio, and it just sounds like fun. Even if you don't get IOTA points, it's still fun, and I like that. And
that sounds like a place where you really got to pack the right bag, right gear, and you're definitely not on a kayak carrying everything you need out to that. Because
you can't just run down. You can't just run back down to Target and get something that you forgot.
Right. You can't get over to Radio Shack. Not a sponsor, of course, but you just can't paddle on over there.
Yep.
Paul, are you going to go, Karen? Would you do something like that?
I would do it. Obviously not going this year, but I have friends who've kayaked over there. They're not hams, but I sure would love to get there. And I have at least one friend who takes photographs of unusual sights around the country, and particularly New York. And he has said, hey, let's go sometime. So that is in my future. It's not that far from the QTH. It's maybe an hour and 10 minutes. And I'm dying to get there.
Let's take another look at it real quick before we go. There it is. Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Looks beautiful. It looks like a lot of fun.
Right north. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Line.
Right north of New York City. It's fish or no, they protect you can't bring your dog, obviously, but you can stay there and walk around and look at the various plants and birds, whatever. That doesn't look like it's right near New York City, does it?
No. Eat a sandwich. That's what I would do. I would go there and eat a sandwich. Speaking of sandwiches, Paul, you've got story number 2. We tease Paul because he brings breakfast for himself, and we tease him because he's here and eats that here in front of us, and it looks delicious, and it makes me feel like all I brought was this stupid coffee. Is that a bagel, Paul?
Well, I have to bring my own food. There's never anything in the green room.
Oh, I said I was sorry. About that. I'm trying really hard. How about I buy you a coffee? That's what we would do.
There we go.
That's what we do. Story number 2. Anything interesting that caught your fancy this week, Paul?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. Over in Europe, we all deal with RFI here. A lot of it is just generated by all the stuff around us as we become more enmeshed in electronics in our everyday life. Some of it, the manufacturers just don't care. And even though it's all supposed to be certified and it's all supposed to be tested, a lot of it, as we know, slips through and gets shipped over here. I had a personal experience a number of years ago. Neighbor across the street and down a couple houses, every Halloween, the month before Halloween, would put up this giant, like 13-foot high inflatable lawn balloon. Jack Skellington character from Nightmare Before Christmas, and it had LED lights in it. And one night I noticed that I had broadband noise all the way from 160 up to 10. It was a repeating pattern, and I thought, something in my house, maybe my network switch or something. I kept trying to find it, finally gave up. I took a quick video with my phone of the radio with the noise so I could post it maybe on 100 Watts Facebook group to see if somebody can recognize what this is. And then I had to go out to get some supplies. So I got in the car and I looked in the mirror of the car and I saw this giant inflatable balloon, and I saw the light flashing in a pattern that all of a sudden looked really familiar. And I fired up the video on the phone and I matched it, and it was the electronics inside that balloon that was using the 13 feet of wiring to the LEDs as an antenna and broadcasting broadband noise to the entire neighborhood. And I talked to the guy who owned it, and he didn't care. And there's, really not a lot I can do. But things like that are bad for us and for anybody who's just trying to listen to the radio. But over in Germany, there is a company that's selling solar panels and the controllers for the solar panels called SolarEdge. And they claim they filed all the paperwork that meets with the EU's directives and all that. But as it turns out, not necessarily. So the German Regulatory Commission, it's BNetzA is the abbreviation for a big German word that I can't really say. They've investigated, and they have shown that there are several optimizers that this company sells that do not meet restrictions and do not meet specs. And they have given them a deadline saying if you can't actually, because clearly the paperwork you filed is false, if you cannot meet the actual spec within 4 weeks from this past week, you've got 4 weeks to at least tell us what you are going to do to clean this up. We're not going to let you sell in Germany. So that's the kind of thing that we don't get over here, where they really don't have, they really haven't done much, the FCC, to guarantee that the electronics being sold over here don't wipe out radio. But the German regulatory people are saying, hey, get this fixed or you can't sell over here. And I think that's interesting that it's
a tough one because I believe in solar. You know what I mean? I believe in harnessing that energy, and it seems so complicated, and it does give us all this kind of hash and this sort of thing. Karen, what do you think about those things? And I support solar, and I'm sure you guys do. And I try to use it when we're portable and everything else. If I could have a whole house full of it, but I hesitate because of stories like this. What do you think, Karen?
Well, I think solar is terrific, and I've toyed with the idea myself of adding solar to the roof. Now that we have a new roof, we can do that. I had held off because I knew we'd have to replace the roof at some point. But I don't think you should go solar at the expense of anything, and I don't think it should cost you, your ham radio operation or any other kind of interference. I think governments do have to be responsible. I want to thank one of our staffers who's in Germany, Ed DD5LP, who flagged this for us, because this, I think, it's a point of pride. You have a government looking out for you we always say, well, we don't here in the States always get the kind of advocacy that we feel we should have, whether it's interference of a humankind or interference because it's RFI. So I do applaud this. I should add that I went to the website of the company because when we were preparing the report, I wanted to see what the company had to say, if anything, about it, whether they were preparing their response or preparing to do something else to notify the German regulator. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing on the website. So either they're keeping quiet about it or they're trying a different tactic, or maybe they just don't know at this point what to do. But it remains to be seen. I would like to see, personally, a lot more of this in certainly the U.S. and other countries. Solar's great, but not if it gets in the way of other things.
Yeah, and I don't think the problem is inherently the solar panels themselves. It's the control electronics, and the companies aren't necessarily even caring that, if they can make it a little bit cheaper and sell more, they don't necessarily care that they're wiping out radio, because to them, that's not their thing. Now the German group BNetzA has done studies that show so far about 75% of the solar installations that they've gotten looked at, and 25% of LED lights that they've looked at don't meet standards. So, and I know for a fact, I've heard from friends that I have that you replace incandescent or fluorescent bulbs with LEDs, and even some fluorescent, the little compact fluorescent, some of those are noisy, and some of the less expensive LED bulbs are very noisy as well, because sometimes you can just unscrew the bulb and all of a sudden 20 meters quiets down. So it's a thing, and it's not just us hams. It's the more RFI hash that gets out there, everything that's involved in using radio signals, Wi-Fi, cell phones, everything gets more interference.
Well, thank you for that. And I want to encourage anybody who is watching or listening to go to the 100 Watts and Wire YouTube channel, put your comments below the video so we can continue the conversation about either of these stories, that beautiful place in New York or this thing going on with solar. I'm conflicted, But if you told me that it was going to interfere with my radio stuff, it gets tricky for me. It gets tricky for me.
It is. And I've been an advocate of alternate energy as long as I can remember. It's just that some of this stuff really needs to be thought out so we can all live happily together.
Yeah, well put. Thank you both for stopping by today, and we'll do it again next week. Just a side note, and Karen can back me up, Paul, your neighbor with the inflatable Halloween thing. Just to let you know, we have friends in New York and Philly can help you solve that problem if that's a...
Yes.
I appreciate that. Fortunately, he moved a year ago.
Okay, we got
right.
because we have numbers on quick dial.
I don't necessarily know that he actually moved, but
he's
no longer there.
You haven't seen him. You haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him, yes.
Right.
So
that's a shame.
He'd put that thing up at the beginning of October and actually let it run through November, almost through Thanksgiving. So for 2 months, I had no HF after sundown.
Yeah, we reminded him. He was probably reminded of that when he disappeared.
Well, theoretically, if that's maybe what could have happened, I would appreciate that. But I'm just saying.
All I'm saying is, I'm glad it went away.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
It's these things just sometimes happen. People just move on. Yeah,
it'd be a shame if that balloon, something would happen to it.
And I don't think they sell those balloons either, but that's a whole different layer to this problem. I'm not sure that they even sell them anymore on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. I saw one in the Menards over here, so they do
did you?
Here.
Menards. Okay. Good to know. All right. Thank you both. Have a great weekend, and I appreciate you. We'll catch up with you soon.
Yep.
73 friends.
See you next week.
Bye.
7-3.
Brothers and sisters, let's talk about the 100-watt ID. Very easy to get. None of this costs you a thing. But it is fun to have your own, and here's how you get it. Visit 100wattsandawire.com. Click the Gathering tab. Here you give us your name, your call sign, and your email address. Very simply put, an app will sequentially issue your ID, and a very busy human we'll send you that ID through the email. Then you can use it during our nets and operating events, share it with your friends, do whatever you like, but that is how you get it. Visit 100wattsinawire.com and click the gathering page. Now let's get back to the show. All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back to the show. My name is Christian. I appreciate you being here. We did the Hour 73 segment. We've got 2 stories. Now it's time to bring in Sidecar Steve. But a quick reminder, if you're looking for a way to support the content you enjoy, a new way to do it, it's as easy as buying me a coffee. Do what you like. No sign-ups, no accounts needed. Very simple and clean. So we appreciate that and your support. Here he is. Sidecar Steve joins us now. People get antsy and they're like, what did you do to Sidecar Steve? Do you know this man's a legend? Look at the grip in the right hand. If you look at the hand, the fingers there are all sort of offset. And that's a reason for that. It's not the shape of the metal that he's squeezing so hard. It's that was the grip of death. And when we got off those motorbikes, there was a huge dent in the metal. So anyway, we welcome Sidecar Steve. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing fine. We got a little delay on your kung fu movie right now.
I know. It just all of a sudden, like, kung fu.
You got a kung fu movie
snatch
happening
the pebble
here.
from my hand. It's time for you.
I don't know. Maybe we should. Why don't you reconnect? You can reconnect with me, and I can set up the next segment where we talk about some portable antennas. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
All right. So Steve will call back here. We'll come back, get Steve back in the seat. What I did earlier in the week was to start talking about some portable antenna options, and we can look at that now. I'm going to start that off, and let's get Steve-O back into the situation here. Let's see how you are, Grasshopper.
Yeah, we'll see. Grasshopper.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
That's a little better. Oh, that was kind of weird. It was going pretty good until
Let's see.
you brought me in.
Yep, perfect. You're good. You're good. So I put the call out there on our 100 Watts in a Wire Facebook group, and if you're in there, it's a very friendly group. But I wanted to see some portable antenna options that work for other people. I made an antenna, Steve. Let me tell you about it, because I don't even know exactly what it is, but I can tell you it works. And I told you as I was going what I was doing, and we'll cut back over to the people for sure. I took and made, it's a wire antenna with 3 pieces soldered together at the center, right? One end was 40 feet, the other 26 feet. So we got 66 feet of total length in the air, and then 35 feet at the drop down. And it drops down, all wire, drops down to what I believe is a 49-1 balun. Connects the coax to the radio, and it sings, man. It does great on 20. It does great on 40. And I mean, like, not even like 2.6, within the 3.0 of my 7300 that'll, tune it. It's like 1 point whatever across both bands. And I was like, I think I finally, and it's tuned for 25 feet. Now, if I went up there a little higher, I don't know what'll happen if my SWR get better or worse.
It might change it a little bit. Yeah.
You think it would get worse the higher I went? If I was right in a pocket at 25 feet and I went up to 36 or 40 feet, do you think it would get knocked way out?
No, I don't think it might get better. It could get worse, but but it should get better. I mean, basically, from what you just described, it's the original Carolina Windom, which was it's basically an off-center fed dipole with a wire that comes straight down, and then you're feeding it like an end-fed antenna. So it's a kind of a combination of an end-fed antenna and an OCF, all in one.
Except the coax is on the ground and it's not up at the centerpiece. That's what got me about so it just worked. And it just worked. I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is what I'm going to start out with. I'm like, cool. I might try to put it up a little higher and then report those numbers back. Yeah. Because I think I can get it up there. I've got an MFJ mast that goes higher than 25 feet, but I feel comfortable working at 25 feet because if I'm out in my truck, that's the mast I take. My antennas are tuned and cut for that height. But anyway, I made it. 66 feet of wire and 35 feet of wire drops down. They're all soldered together in the center. And I think the trick is probably in that 49-1 Balun that makes it sing. I don't even know how you make a 49-1. So maybe someone can make a video, or you can make a video for that.
Oh, there's directions out there. You just need toroids, some wires, and some capacitors. It's 100 picofarad capacitors. I think you need a couple of them. But yeah, there's a lot of YouTube, or just Google search.
Yeah, that's how I use the YouTube stuff. It's just when I'm building something, or I need to know. So those are the videos that I definitely go to. Tune-up's coming up this coming weekend, Thursday evening at 7 o'clock Central Time. You can begin and run all the way till Sunday. Now, that next weekend is Father's Day weekend. So it's not. It's the weekend after.
No, it's the following weekend, but the weekend after.
That's right. So we will have our net on Sunday. 1 minute before our net starts, we pack it in. You guys will go to the website, click on the events tab, and submit your name and total. If you get more than 25 contacts, you qualify for not just the grand prize, but all those prizes. I mean, we've got great stuff. We've got the ICOM 705 as the grand prize, but also LDG with analog meters, 50 feet of coax. We now have upgraded our PowerFilm solar panel from 20 watts to a 30-watt panel. All of this stuff is listed at the website, but that's how we'll kick it off on Thursday. It's already here, Steve. I can't even believe this.
I know.
Who could believe it's happening this fast?
Time has flew by.
It's crazy.
Just unreal.
And I think everybody's so excited to get outside and just be outside and have the air hitting our face, to be able to take the mask off and have a good time. And with people again, I hope. It's getting better. It's getting better. Amy says it depends on the situation. I don't think any wiser words have been spoken in this thread. It really does depend on where you're going to be, for what antenna is going to work for you, how much space you have. Having said that, she talks about activating. She does a lot of stuff in the parks. So you can see there, she link dipole, end-fed, half wave. That sounds good to me. I'm a link dipole guy, and I try to find enough space to get a 20 and a 40-meter link dipole out there and up. You and I, Steve, are different than other folks, clearly, on many, many levels. But you and I...
we can go down that.
Yeah, I don't know if we have time for that. That's called therapy. Therapy sessions.
We need a lot of that.
Why am I so different? That's kind of what I say. But, you and I would drive. Portable to us is somewhere that you would drive in your truck, get maybe to a park, set up at your own leisure type of things. I've yet to activate a Summit, which does seem cool. And again, packing the right bag. How much do I need to take with me? How much can I carry? What do I need up there? Parks on the Air, I just love the idea of it. I've done activating and would do more of that. But I would be more inclined, and I think you can speak to your situation. We're kind of guys that would drive into the gig, set up, break it down, have a beer, and not drive off, camp and spend the night. I don't want to put the wrong type of messages out there, but be adults out there, have fun in the park, and roll on out. So I may not be as camping as deep, is the point.
Oh, I was just thinking about it yesterday. I was telling you earlier. I was going up to find a new radio site for one of our engineers to scope out for some new microwave shots, and the site's up about 6,600 feet, and I got up above the 6,000 foot level, and still there's too much snow. But in the process, when I was getting close to the ridge where the radio site was at, I was already looking at spots. I was like, oh, this would be a good place to set up for field day, portable ops, go camping. It's about 25 miles in, and set up some tents here, and there was plenty of trees around to string up wires. So yeah, no, I'm always thinking about it when I'm out in the backcountry, and looking for it. So yeah, that'd be the way to go.
Now we know Edwin. Edwin is in our Amsterdam office there. He's one of our moderators as well. He's one of those serious get out there and activates flora, fauna, parks on the air, those sorts of programs. He's out there doing that. And that may be because, and I know he's in the chat now, it may be because of restrictions where he lives in Paradise there with the red light district, I think they call it. I don't know what they do there, but it sounds lovely. And, he's talking about what he uses there. And again, it's what you're what works for you? Where are you going? More of that conversation. Here's David. He's sort of like us. If I can't get there by vehicle, I don't go. But then I asked a follow-up question about, okay, so what are your antennas on your mobile? So he sets up a variety of beam antennas there. Ben says he parks the truck. Let's see, park the truck and antennas up. He uses ham sticks, 3 mag mount. My car is, or the truck is more aluminum, so it doesn't really stick. Those older cars, and I think the metal, oh boy, that would lock you in good. But I have challenges with that. 53 feet end-fed up in the highest tree, usually, and that's a cool picture there. He's out there, a tent next to what looks to be a
setup.
Jeep. Yeah, that's a cool setup there.
Yeah, there you go.
Makes
there even looks like a screwdriver antenna right there on the on the
got
front.
A Tar Heel. Got a Tar Heel.
Yep.
Can't tell if it's the what version of the Tar Heel. Maybe for 40. Some for 80, a little bit bigger. They've even got one for 160. You see that on the tailgate most times. Here's Stuart. Oops, did I make it too big? End fed half wave. Likes that. We've talked about those antenna trends. A lot of people are using end fed antennas right now, and that's all right. That's all right by me.
The buddy pole, dipole configuration. You can do that with ham sticks too. You can get a couple of ham sticks, and MFJ makes a little coupler that you can mount on a mast and put together 2 ham sticks into a dipole configuration. I mean, the ham sticks $20 each, and you get 2 for 40, 2 for 20, or whatever. Another portable antenna. We always talk about end feds or this or that, and if you have a mast, think of a maypole antenna, and it's basically it's just how many bands of inverted V's you build, but everything is fed by one feed line, and you can have say 40 meters and 20 meters maypole antennas, and now you have 4 lines down. They act like a guy ropes or guy support for the top of your mast, and the antenna at the same time, and you get 3 bands right out of just those 4 wires. So you'll have 40, 15 because it's an
harmonic,
odd harmonic from 40 meters and then 20 meters, and or you can throw out even 1 for 10 and just have 10 meters or 17 or how many you want to do. That's another option out there. But I like the end feds because that's just, it's 1 wire, boom, you're done, you go and you have your tuner off center feds or whatever. I like the buddy poles because those are antennas because you can throw it into a backpack if you're hiking in. I kind of like the idea of driving in and bringing everything, and then you have everything there. Plus you have shelter. As going back to Don's segment, having your vehicle there, you have shelter, and so if something does go sideways, you can go from there. At least you have some cover to take care of it if your tent gets blown away, if you tent or this or that. So
and it's getting out and getting portable. You're very rarely going to be in a scenario that's perfect. We can't even really get the perfect antennas at our homes. And I mean, I think you can get close if you've got a tower. Like Sidecar's got his tower, but he would find things in his setup that he would like to improve. Like, you're always kind of seeking that perfect scenario out there in the field. Who knows? You may not have a tree. You may not have this. You may have to depend on that. I'm a fan of taking antennas that I've tested, and I can put up at 25 feet. And I'll test this scenario today where I can go a little higher than that and see what it does to a good antenna at 25 feet. What happens when I go up? I doubt I'd go another 25 feet, but maybe to 36 feet, something like that. I don't know where the cutoff point, and I think I asked you that this week. Will it make a difference? I think I was at 27 feet or 25 feet. Like, what's going to make a big difference in my step up in that mast? I just don't know that yet, so I'm going to do some more tests, I guess. To maybe 36 feet. I don't know why that sounds good.
That'll be a half wavelength at 20 meters and a quarter wavelength for 40. Okay. So it'll be interesting. You'll see some differences. Okay. Changes from 25 to those.
I'll report back because I like that
minor.
antenna.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we have here. 2040 trap dipole. I never understood traps. My first Elmer gave me a trapped antenna for 40 and for 80.
Think of it as a linked antenna. The trap, what it does is just stop so if on 20 meters, it's basically at the end of the 20 meter wavelength, that trap provides a high impedance. It's almost like it's just blocking the RF signal from traveling down farther down the wire. And so in a sense, it's an electronic switch there for you. Mm-hmm. It just traps the 20 meter signal. And then for 40 meters, it just looks like a low impedance, and it just, the RF just goes right past it. And it sees it as like additional wire. That's the simplest form I can explain it to you.
Don says he likes end-fed, 123 feet, gives him 160 meters. Thinking about 160 on a random type of end-fed wire is kind of nutty to me. But if you got the space, if you can do it, man, I'd like to see it happen. Randy, he packs this 5-gallon bucket.
For many uses.
Yeah, he says, he does a lot in there. I mean, I know you could poop in a bucket if you needed to, and maybe he could. He'd have to dump it out.
Bring a bag.
Yeah, bring a bag. Just put a bag in your bucket. He said that we giggled and snickered. I said, no, I wouldn't. I think he'd, it's innovative. He can sit on that seat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's crafty. I had to tell him that. I would never tease like that.
At work, we've made a bunch of remote emergency kits, because we got a lot of guys that don't think about being out in the backcountry and having survival equipment, even because, our trucks, we break down or something happens and we're stuck at a site. And some of our high altitude sites, we have a footlocker that's full of food, water, toiletries, blankets, something to heat water with, a electric stove, little heating element, and things like that. Well, we go to other sites that don't have that, so we put together some 5-gallon buckets, and you throw water in there, mountain house, food. The only problem is there's no way to heat up water, and but in my work truck, I have a big backpack that I carry my some survival gear, my jet boil, water. Well, I always have water in the truck, but the pack, I have something there, space blankets, things like that. And so the 5-gallon bucket, yeah, we snicker about it, but man, that's a great idea. It becomes very useful to put antennas in, coax, all your things. I like to have the padded seat, so now when you set up your operation, you got something to sit on. I mean, it's very useful. Plastic bag can take care of a few other,
Yeah, right. That's easy to store.
Other
too.
issues, and it's stackable. So, good one there, Randy.
Yeah. So, lots of different options out there, things that work for people when they're operating portable. There's Ed. He's got a homebrew buddy stick for the upper HF bands. Jeff says he's got that 1788 mag loop antenna, 40 through 15. I think that's like the solid. That's not the one with the coax. That's a solid, I think, mag loop. I'm not sure. I'd have to check that. Another homebrew, the Black Widow 3 band. I think that's the one. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think I've read about that antenna.
Roads.
I've read about that antenna from a person at a club.
3-band. Okay, cool. Mosquito repellent. Oh yeah, we're getting to that time of year.
Definitely. Yeah, we've got weird bugs flying around here at the moment, but none. We've got a couple mosquitoes and some mosquito eaters, but not a ton of mosquitoes right now. Knock wood. Super antenna. Patty uses that. Jeff, a Chameleon. The MPAS 2.0 antenna there for POTA activations. And I think, like Lisa said, it's one of those things where it depends on your situation, your scenario. I'll be traveling. I'll be in Manhattan. Of course, I'm not going to be putting up an antenna. I don't even know if I'll get a chance to put up an antenna unless I go off to one of the boroughs and find a park, and maybe, who knows. But, later on, if I'm visiting Mom in Delaware with the little space and parks or the beach, it's a whole different scenario. So it's just an exercise in what you can do, what you may be using, and what you found to work for you in that little exercise. So thank you for that. And you're welcome to put down in the comments below what you use, what you found that works for you when you're out there. All right, I think now it'd be a good time for us to answer some questions. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do some. This one here. This one comes in, and this is right up your alley here. Let's see. What height should I start guying a mast? And I guess you could do the same for a tower too. I mean, if you're talking about when or what height do you start to put them in?
Well, for the tower, it depends on. I would go with what the manufacturer recommends. So, and then it also for towers. We'll just start off with Roan. Roan 25, Roan 45, Roan 55. They have different levels of where the manufacturer tells you to guy it based on the overall height of your antenna. So we'll use one of my towers, which is at 80. It's an 80-foot tower, so it's guyed at 3 levels. So the first level is guyed at 25 feet, second level is guyed at 50 feet, and the third level is guyed at 75 feet. And that just varies from the height. And now for the equivalent of a Roan 45, instead of using 3 levels of guying, it only needs 2 because it's just the design of the antenna. When it comes to masts, I would start to look at is it a metal mast that you're using, steel, aluminum, or is it a fiberglass one? And where the flex is. So if it's fiberglass, I would go pretty much every 10 feet. You might go up maybe the 20-foot level. I mean, I know 20-foot push-ups pretty much you can get away with maybe guying it at the top or near the top. And it all depends on what kind of load you're going to have. So also factor in is this going to have a load that's going to be equal distance. It's not going to be the end support of a long wire or a dipole antenna, or is it just going to be supporting like an inverted V? That's going to be the other issue, and you're going to kind of have to think about it. But if it's permanently installed at your house, I would, and let's say it's a 30-foot push-up mast, I would definitely guide at the top. And at the 20-foot level, I would probably give it a shake to see if there's a lot of movement at the 10-foot level. You could probably compromise, come down to to a 15-foot level, but you'd have to attach the guy ring there. But at the most 10, 20, 30-foot levels on a 30-foot mast, 50-foot mast, same thing. But you're going to have to kind of use your best judgment on that first level.
And I'm pretty low to the ground when I'm out portable. So I will be at 25 feet, and the ends of the antenna, usually an inverted, maybe a linked dipole. Mm-hmm. So they almost end, they're almost like a guying system of themselves because they're not super high. But then I'll have one probably at the 15-foot level for sure, at least one to keep it from going back or forth. And if nothing else, it's not going to hit your vehicle if that's the way you're doing it.
Yeah, it depends on the application. And if it's portable, then you're going to probably go less. If it's, something you're going to set up at your house and is going to be there for, the long haul, then I would probably go a little more than what you would do portable, because you just don't want it to come down, and guy wire or ropes or, is relatively cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, there you go. Next. Would you ever consider changing your call sign? Boy, these things become so personal to us, I guess. I don't know. Then I'd have to do something with this thing. What am I going to do with that? Yep. So, I don't know. I guess I did change when it was initially given to me. I used to be KD0 STH. And then within the first, I don't know, probably 6 months, I dropped the Delta from it and just went with the K0. What did you do? You I know you had a terrible screw up in the beginning and that
yeah,
kind of
and
deal.
then so I changed call districts, and so I, I started with WA6TIC, ended up with WB6UDI, and then when I moved to the 7th call district, then I changed it to W7UDI, and then I have at one point put in on the 1x2, which I went for W7DI, and wasn't successful in that lottery. So, but yeah, I've thought of it and kind of acted on it a little bit. But for the most part, everyone, we all know each other by our call signs. Our call signs are very personal to us. I like it when people change their call signs to their initials or something that has, there's some meaning to it. A coworker of mine just changed his recently, and so it's. But yes, back to the question. Yes, I have considered it, and will I do that again? Probably not. I'll just stay with what I have.
Let's move over to the 100 Watts in a Wire IT department, where Paul has a comment.
Hey, I earlier on, because I first got licensed in 77, and it was after they did the WN thing, and I thought about it earlier on, but as time went on, and I just got so used to WD9GCO, and then in more recent years, you start to realize that the WD call identifies you as a guy who's been around for a while. And I kind of like that feeling. Fortunately, I've never moved out of the 9 area, so I haven't had to. And I know you don't have to, but it's just really weird when you're thinking, oh, there's a 7, I need that, and it turns out he's in Florida. So,
yeah, exactly.
But I was out of it for a while. I mean, I played a little bit locally, but I didn't really get back into ham radio for like the last 6-7 years. And that's when I missed out on somewhere in there where they started issuing call signs domestically that look like DX. And I'm hearing somebody that sounds like Rare DX coming in like S9. I'm like, oh, you're in Ohio?
Yeah.
That's a new US call? All right. So, no, I have thought about it a long time ago, but at this point, it's like you said, I mean, it's part of my name. And I really don't feel like changing it.
Right.
It's our identity. It's what people know us on the air, and it's our name here in the hobby. And I am with you on the guys. So I'll be up here in the Pacific Northwest, so I'm kind of in the upper left-hand corner of the 48 states, and I hear a 1 call or a 2 call. And I happen to have the antenna pointing, say, down towards Florida. I'm swinging the antenna up towards the northeast, and it's like their signal's getting weak. And then I find out, oh yeah, they're down in Tucson or something like that. It's like, oh man. So that's the one of the disadvantages. We can spread our call around, but I don't blame the person just because they moved from the northeast down to the southwest. Why they should change their call sign, because they've had that call for 20, 30 years. And so yeah, it's one of those where it gets a little a little troublesome. So it's just like, okay, park the antenna, look them up, find out where they're at, then swing, and then to swing. So but it makes it for a challenge.
Okay, let's see, here's one. When will you announce the tune-up winner? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. That's not a technical question, but it is a consideration now. The tune-up will start on Thursday, and we'll go all weekend long until just 1 minute before the 100 Watts in a Wire Sunday evening net on the weekend. So what you're going to do, and we can talk about some of these prizes before we head out. There's an ICOM 705, LDG. Let me make this larger for you guys so you can see that a little bit better. You can see the list of grand prizes. So we want you to participate here. Steve's going to be a bonus station. I'll be a bonus station. KB9VBR. He just said I'll just do it. I didn't even ask. So I was like, okay. But he's out there in the parks. He's doing his thing. He likes to get out and camp. So I'm like, fine, that sounds fun. So when you work those stations, and maybe we'll add a couple more, you'll get 5 points. And you may be saying, see, child, what's this point system all about? Well, when you've got hundreds of dollars worth of value in the prizes, it only makes sense that people who are really playing along that get 25 contacts, qualify. So you have to qualify to win the prize. The 705 is like $1,400. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good prize there. Probably the best one. Right now it's the hot radio. So there you go. So we got that. We got LDG on board. MFJ is going to do the big stick antenna, Bioenno Power with the charger. Elecraft for the first time is around giving an antenna that you could take out in the field. And we've got some magazine stuff, Nuts and Volts. NI4L makes some good strong antennas there with his G5RV. ABR Industries with the coax, and Steve and I both like the fact that they put your name and your call sign on there. That's just cool when you go to field day and you're like, yeah, that's mine, player, right there. It says my name right on it.
Exactly.
You can keep your old crappy coax. Mine's special. And PowerFilm Solar. They upgraded from a 20 watt to a 30 watt, which is good.
Nice.
And Michael gave a 2 meter, one of his 2 meter J poles there. So that's that. The question, getting back to the question of when, you were going to say I got something. Would you say I got something? You were going to say something.
I'm sorry.
Sidecar. He's just groaning along there. That's okay. It's all good. So yeah, I'm going to be traveling. So I'm going to be in New York the weekend after. What we normally do is we'll finish the event, and I give a week for people to submit their totals. Probably I don't need to give a week long in between. But what I like to do is announce the next Saturday who wins on the show. Well, that Saturday I'll be traveling. So I'll be in New York City, and it's deeply unlikely that on the 19th that this show is going to happen on schedule like we normally do, 10 o'clock Central Time. However, we may figure out something different in terms of a different time slot. I got to get in there and get unpacked and all that sort of stuff. So it's either going to be announced, say, like the Wednesday or something midweek, or just hold it for a special spot when Steve and I have had some beverages and just are chilling, and just roll out the winners at that time. I tend to want to let people get those results in, then they can be collected. It's going to be rough. So it'll probably be that weekend after. Mm-hmm. But, fire call. Stand by. Is that you?
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's me.
You're like, let it burn. It's good. I'm on TV right now.
If my pager goes off, then it's a different story.
So I didn't put...
That's just the phone.
I didn't put that information of when, and someone asked. So there you go. That's what we'll do. We're going to wait and see. It'll be that weekend after. Give you the days to put in your contacts, your information. I'll let the kids do the random drawing thing where we match up the different prizes to the people who entered. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boom.
You will win. So there you go. Anything else that we need to add, Steve? I
want to go back to what you and Don were talking about, and something that I think you brought up. We're all getting kind of older, and this and that, and so let's see if I can. Let me do this. I want to bring up so what I need to do is share, and we'll try that and see if I can. A window. Oh no, it's not going to be. All right, well, we won't do that. Well, here, what I was thinking, and is when in clubs you should probably encourage this, and maybe come up with a form that will have its emergency information, but it will have the name, your address, and everything, your medical insurance policy number, group number, emergency contacts, and list of allergies and medications that you have on. And and before everybody starts vapor locking here, you keep it to yourself. This is a form that the club can come up with and that you fill out as a participant, and then you fold it up and stick it in your pockets, either be in your left rear pocket or be a left breast pocket or someplace that is physically on you, so that if something did happen and medics have to get called, one of the things medics are going to want is like, do you have any allergies for medication? What medications are you on? Because that will determine a lot and their treatment of you is their course of action on how to go from there. So having that information on your body, just like Pastor Joe is using the road ID, and that's all available. It's something that you could have it in your phone and things like that, but I personally, it's your phone could be left in the car or something, or the battery could have died on your phone, and then it's useless. Having a piece of paper that's physically on you is and having that information, then it would help you if something would happen. But I understand, HIPAA issues, and you don't want to share, you don't want to tell your buddies, oh, I'm on this heart medication or this or that. That's between you and your doctor. But at least having that. So that's something to think about. And I think clubs should probably encourage that a little bit more, to have something where, information that you carry on your body that, when you're participating, because we're starting to get in, field day with the heat starting to kick in. Mm-hmm. We're kind of going, we're not acclimated to the heat. We just had this little short heat wave here in where I live, and we were getting into the 90s, and it was like, holy smokes, this is kicking my butt, because I'm not used to the 90s just quite yet. We kind of we went from 60s, a little bit of 70s, then bam, 80, upper 80s and 90s for a couple of days. And then now we're back down to, normal, upper 60s, low 70 temperatures. So it's, we're kind of in that transition time frame when field day happens. So it's, I wanted to kind of share that.
No, it's great, because you're a first responder for sure. And, mm-hmm. when you're in kind of a stressful situation, or your body is in a stressful situation, or giving out, or even dehydrated or whatever, you're not really capable all the time to answer these questions clearly, and this would help.
And, the chances are most likely you're going to end up being dehydrated, because, hey, we're drinking coffee and all this. Oh, yeah, but I'm drinking coffee. Well, coffee is a diuretic, so it's you're not really getting hydrated by it. So, something to think about. I mean, I would encourage clubs to do things like that, and I don't know why we didn't think about it sooner. But as you pointed out, when we are getting older, and when you made that comment, it was like, holy smokes, yeah, we need to do that, and go from there. So if you're participating in field day activities, or going out even portable and activating, parks on the air or summits on the air, put that information into a pocket, and and let whoever you're with know that my medical information and contact information is in my left rear pocket, and away you go. So
that's the thing, is that you're wanting to cut down on time. That's the thing. It's time. Anytime any responder is trying to help you or whatever, figure out what you need, what you're allergic to, it's just time ticking away. That window of opportunity through CPR that we learn about. So if you can save a step and save yourself some time, you just may save yourself. But I know it's we don't always think like that, in terms of, oh, what I should pack and I'll be fine, I'll be back, and just call my wife. But that window of time between getting you help and what you need and trying to figure those things out, I like it. I think I'll work on that today. Maybe we'll go back and get some of that information and post it back up, 'cause it's valuable stuff.
Yeah, put it into Hour 73 and talk about it.
That's what we'll do. Okay. Anything else? Looking at the folks in the chat, you guys are the ones that we do this for, and I think the other folks who promoted the tune-up, Amateur Radio Newsline, Ham Talk Live, KB9 VBR, who at least mentioned it for us. It'll take the community of the people to actually propagate these things out, and depend on us to get that message out. I hope you have a good time. I plan on streaming tomorrow because it'll be net night, and then hopefully sometime in the middle of the week, could be a good streaming opportunity to work outside. Just got to get some things sorted out. Make sure I got a good, strong enough signal or a hot spot to stream out there from the old shed. But if I can show that antenna off and make some contacts, it's usually a really fun time, for sure.
I would say lay out a run of Ethernet cable. If it's under 100 meters, you can go that. But this is something that we talked about RFI, and before, when I first built my shop out here, and I built the shed out here, I had about a 300-foot run of Ethernet cable that was eventually, which it ended up in a conduit to run from the house out here to the shop. I laid it out on the ground, and I kept seeing these signals on 20 meters, but when I turned the beam to the west, where the house is to the west of the shop here, these signals this interference, this RFI issue would crop up, and it's like, what is it? And it was always a steady, signals. It was just spikes I'd see on the pan adapter. And once I got the cable in the conduit, once I finished the conduit run, all that went away, and then it was like, ding, there it is. I was creating, RFI issues like Paul and his blow up doll there, and and
wow, Paul's not even around anymore to refute that. That's pretty cold. That's cold, Sidecar.
And so it hey, it's it happens. And then and I did another one myself. Was I got a inexpensive battery tender from Harbor Freight. And whatever you do, don't get one of those $20 battery tenders, because they will tear your HF up. And I found that out the hard way too. So there's a lot of cheap electronics that are out there that it's great on the wallet, but it ends up hurting us here in the hobby. So it makes it tough.
All right, well, that's great. That's great information, and we'll end with the thought of Paul and his blow-up doll. Wow, there's no wonder. There's no wonder. Betty White.
There's a reason why he's
Lucille Ball.
Betty White.
Ball. Ginger and Marianne. Just get all our favorites in there. All right, we'll wrap it up for now. We'll see you tomorrow. Just a little bit before 7 o'clock, we'll start the countdown. You're welcome to join us there on the air and in the stream. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoy having you here, and I hope you have a great weekend working out. I'll let you know what happens when we get to elevating this antenna that I like, this little antenna that I built. If I understood the balun better, I think I could explain it. But I looked at the meter readings, and it was just, I was like, okay, don't touch it. Steve would say, don't touch it.
Don't screw with success.
Don't
but
screw with
I
success.
also
Don't
use another
touch it.
metaphor to it also.
Right.
So,
and we'll save that one for next time. But yeah, we'll see if we can get it up a little bit higher, like 36 feet, and see what happens there. Dirty old man. Don't you respond. Don't you do it. All right, 73, brothers and sisters. I appreciate you all. And we'll see you tomorrow night. 73, friends.
73, everyone.
Oh, we'll do it over here.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100watsindawire.com.